This book is called Sled Dogs to the Rescue, written by M. Aboff and illustrated by Janny Orban. Sled Dogs to the Rescue. Words to know. These are very important words that we are going to hear in our book. So let's read them together. Blizzard, disease, medicine, musher, relay, teams. Let's be listening for these words when we are reading our story. We have a photograph of some sled dogs here. Our table of contents. So the table of contents, this shows what sections of our story are on each page. So the section called A Terrible Disease is on page 4. The section The Great Sled Dog Relay is on page 7. The section The Dogs Deliver, page 11. The section After the Race is on page 14. And at the back, the glossary is on page 16. A terrible disease. In January 1925, sled dog teams raced through Alaska in a blizzard to save children's lives. It started when a disease spread through a small town in Alaska called Nome. The children needed medicine right away. The medicine that could save the children was a great distance away. We have a photograph here of a hospital. When the disease struck Nome, the town's only doctor worked to save lives in this hospital. So in this hospital, there were a bunch of sick people and children, and they needed medicine that was really far away. The medicine could be delivered part of the way by train. Even so, it was 674 miles from the last train stop to Nome. Sled dogs were the best way to deliver the medicine through the snow. However, the distance was too far for one team. A sled dog relay was the only hope. So think about a relay race. When one person passes a baton to another person and that person passes it to another. The same thing. The sled dog teams are passing the medicine from one team to the next. We have an illustration here. The package containing the medicine for Nome's children. Okay, so here is the package, and here's a photograph or a picture of the medicine. The Great Sled Dog Relay. More than 20 teams and 150 dogs were to take part in the relay. Each musher, or someone, the person that is the leader of the team, okay, they are guiding the dogs on the sled. Each musher would give the medicine to the next team along the way. When the medicine arrived by train, it was handed to the first team, and the race was on. We have a map here of Alaska. Our caption says, a journey from the last train stop in Nenana to Nome would normally take 25 days by sled. The teams raced against time to deliver the medicine. So here's our key. We see that this solid black line is the sled dog route, or the path the sled dogs took. And this picture that looks like a railroad is actually for the railroad, for the train. So here is the train's path. So the train stopped here in Nanana with the medicine, and the sled dogs had to pick up the medicine here at this red dot for Nanana and take it along this path here, this black solid path, all the way to Nome where the sick children were. This is a really long way. The dogs battled through rough wilderness in the bitter cold. Often, the medicine had to be warmed by a fire to keep it from freezing. Some of the dogs did not survive the journey. A famous musher and his lead dog, Togo, covered the most dangerous part of the run. Here we have a photograph, and our caption says, Togo and his musher had won many dog sled races in the past. So here's the musher, the person that leads the team that guides the dogs, and here's Togo, one of the lead dogs. To save time, they raced over an area of frozen sea. The next day, they raced up snow-packed mountains. They covered 91 miles, more than any other team. Another section, the dogs deliver. The sled dog teams continued their difficult journey. Another musher and his lead dog, Balto, left on the second to last leg in a terrible blizzard. Here we have an illustration. Here are the dogs that are leading the sled, and here's the musher, the person who tells the dogs where they need to go. And then we have a photograph here, Balto and his musher. So here's Balto, and here's the man, musher we call them. Balto led the team through the storm. At one point, a gust of wind flipped the sled over. The medicine fell into a snowbank. Balto's musher dug it out with frozen hands. When Balto's team arrived at the handoff point, so where they gave the medicine off to the next team was not ready to leave. Balto's team continued on to Nome instead. So instead of waiting for the next team to be ready to leave, Balto's team just left. They went to Nome because they needed to get that medicine to those children. 5.5 days after the relay began, Balto's team delivered the medicine. The children were saved. So if you remember, on one of the maps, it said that it would normally take a sled team 25 days, one sled team, 25 days to cross that amount of land. But with the help of a relay of sled dogs, they did it in 5.5 days. That's amazing. After the race, Togo, his musher, and their team went all over the United States. They drew large crowds. A lot of people gathered to see the team of dogs and the musher. Here's a photograph of this famous team. Togo's musher loved his dogs. He started a husky kennel in Maine. A statue of Balto was built in a city park. Balto and some of his teammates were in a dog show. They were not treated well and were kept in small cages. People gave money to bring the dogs to Cleveland, Ohio. They stayed in a zoo for the rest of their lives. Balto is famous for his bravery. However, every sled dog on that journey helped save the sick children when there was little hope left. Here we have a photograph of this statue, and here's Balto and his musher. Balto and his musher visit the new statue that was built in honor of the sled dogs. And our glossary. Remember, the glossary tells us the meaning of all of these words that we heard in our story. Blizzard. That means a severe snowstorm with cold temperatures, heavy snows, and strong, steady winds. That came from page 4. Disease. A condition other than one caused by injury that changes the way a body normally functions. An illness. That came from page 5. Another word, medicine. A drug or remedy used for treating an illness or condition. That came from page 5. A musher. A person who drives a sled pulled by dogs. That came from page 7. Relay. The process of moving or delivering something in stages by passing it from one person to another. Think about a relay race. It's the same thing. This came from page 6. And our last word, teams. Groups of animals harnessed together to pull vehicles. That came from page 4. And that was Sled Dogs to the Rescue. I hope you enjoyed listening and reading along with me.